is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans, with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, and Jason Eidsmoe. We're talking Padres, Chargers, and Aztec sports.
Got to hit it to the right place. And he hits it out to center. Right center. Blackman's got a long way to go. He's still going.
Off the wall.
And it is off the wall. It takes a funny hop. Kemp is rounding second. He's heading to third.
Gotta go.
And Matt Kemp into third base with a triple and the first cycle in the history of the San Diego Padres.
He will hand it off. Tomlinson plows his way towards the goal line. LaDainian Tomlinson, one step closer to football immortality. Tomlinson has tied the single-season record. And the handoff to Tomlinson. Left side, and he will gallop into the end zone. Charger fans are witnesses to history.
Pope thought about it. Now steps up. And the freshman hits the jumper at the buzzer.
Well, this kid is some prospect. Big time length, big time game.
Pope straight away three. Count it. Malik Pope. Pope off classic goal. On the other end, Joel doesn't miss that one. Shepard alley-oop to Pope. He got up there. Oh, wow.
It's time to let your voice be heard.
Yes, the 90s. Stay down. Can't stop me if you try, man. I'm black and you're white. You don't really want it with me, man. You despise me, cause I do it eloquently. You so average, you can't get with me. These be them old school cats with break beats. Everybody thinking they dope, but they on sweet. Their pants is extra tight, so their knees burst out. They don't really want to say nothing, my verse is out. I rarely curse on the verse, cause I don't need to. I'm that potent. That's how it go when an OG like me is flowing.
All right, it's the San Diego Sports Junkies. We're back. It's Wednesday at 7 o'clock. I thought I'd play some music there from a guy that I tried so hard last week to get on, and technical difficulties did not allow him to be on, so we got Requested back with us. How you doing, man?
What's up, fellas?
How's it going, Requested?
Yep.
And, of course, we got Jake Hefner. You can follow him at Jake T. Hefner on Twitter. You can follow Requested at Requested. It's nice to be back with. Last week we were back after a few weeks off, actually a couple months off, and right before we took our break, Requested started being a more part of the show, and then of course right when he got used to being on the show, we decided we were going to take a couple months off. So we're really happy that you were able to hang in there and jump back in here and join back up with the show, man.
Oh man, you know what? Always great to be with you guys, and yeah, that's exactly how the story played out, and. During that last, I don't know, it felt more like a month to me, but it probably was 2 months. I just been reading tweets, man, and having to practice keeping quiet. I haven't done too well though. I can't.
Sometimes it's tough not to get angry. Real quick, just to let you guys know, we're going to be talking about the Chargers and kind of general draft from the defensive side of the ball, what the Chargers draft needs are, what they need to do defensively. Last week we talked about the offense, of course. We're going to do that till about 7:45. And then Justin Smead, one of the OG San Diego Sports Junkies, is going to join us. He's currently moving, so he's not as available as he'd like to be. He's going to come on. We're going to be talking some some Padres at 7:45. Real quickly, I know it is Charger talk, but I do want to bring this up. I try and bring this up every year. It is about the Padres, and a really, really cool thing that they do. Sometimes it gets a little bit of publicity, but the Padres don't talk about it too much, and that's the fact that every single year they sign Matt LaChappa to a minor league contract. And for those of you who don't know, Matt LaChappa about 20 years ago was in the minor league system. He was actually on the mound in the bullpen warming up, and he had a heart attack. They revived him, but then he's had some lasting effects from that. He was not able to play baseball anymore, and to maintain his health coverage, the Padres re-sign him every single year to a minor league contract. I think that's really cool. I don't think it gets enough publicity, and even when they change ownerships and stuff, they seem to be able to keep doing that. I think that's a really cool thing they do, and I don't think that it gets talked about enough. Is that something you guys are aware of, or something you guys have heard about before?
Not aware of that. That's awesome.
Request, is that something that you've heard of them doing before?
Yeah, I did hear about that. He's in a wheelchair. Is he not?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I actually heard about that. I didn't know that they like I knew they signed him like that, but then I didn't really have the whole tie-in with the timing. But that's awesome, man. That's really a stand-up gesture for sure.
Yeah, he had brain damage from a lack of oxygen. He is confined to a wheelchair. Another little fun fact: my wife actually went to school with him. Not that they were best friends or anything, but they went to the same school and she did know him. So it's kind of a really neat thing that they do. He's from Lakeside, California, which is local to where I am right now in El Cajon. Something I wanted to bring up. I know we're talking Chargers there, but something that we don't talk about it enough, and they do that every year. I think that's really cool. Moving on, defensive side of the ball, we talked a lot about the offense. The last thing I want to do is I want to kind of cover what we're going to be doing over the next few shows. Today, of course, we'll be talking about draft from the defensive perspective. Next Wednesday, the 19th, will be our last show that we do before the draft. So it's going to be anything goes. Anything we want to talk about, we're going to kind of leave everything out there. Offense, defense, anything that you guys want to talk to about the Chargers' needs. The following Wednesday, we will not be doing a show because Thursday, the 27th, we will be getting in the car. We will be road tripping 7,000 miles north up to Jake's place. He has he's agreed he's agreed to allow us to enter his estate and do the show. We're going to be doing it live from his place. We'll be approximately about 2:00 would be my guess. We're going to do like a pre-draft show. Then we're going to kind of shut down the mics. We're going to get our drink on a little bit, and then we will be doing a live show during the draft. So we'll be kind of commenting on the draft choices, and we'll just kind of see where that goes. And we've done that one time. We did it before Jake was part of the show. It was probably one of the most fun shows that I've ever done. So I'm looking forward to this being my new favorite show. Jake, how much? I know you've been looking forward to the draft since about week 6. How much are you looking forward to that, and what do we have to look forward to on that show?
15, 15, 15, dude. Just someone speed the clock up faster. Someone just get the, skies, the heavens, the nights, the suns, everything rolling quicker.
Yes.
Give me a DeLorean, for crying out loud.
Nice.
Just get me to April 27th.
Yes, absolutely. Chargers defensive needs. I think that I'll start this off by saying I think that if you need to put the number one position of need on the defense, it'd have to be safety. Requested, do you agree with that, or do you think that they have a bigger need defensively?
No, it's definitely safety. Did you guys see Larry coming out and saying that he doesn't mind being a mentor?
I read that, yes.
So when I read it, my first thought was like, of course you don't, because you already know, like, it's either get cut or be a mentor. Like, I mean, he doesn't really, you know what I mean? He's not imposing or anything like that. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
What's he supposed to say? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Right. Nah, safety's that's the spot, fellas. That's the one, man. Because you get a safety across from Jaleel, man, and I like what's going on because Jaleel, he's an overachiever, man. But my favorite guys are always unrestricted free agents. So you get, and now he's got himself a contract. So I feel like you get a stud safety, and that's priority for sure.
I'm happy you brought up Jaleel Addae because one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about him because anybody who's listened, especially to our pre-game shows, I've been real hard on him about my biggest complaint about him was if you're going to give me 15-yard penalties, you need to be making plays as well. You can't just give me penalties. You can't just be making all these late hits, and you can't keep knocking yourself stupid, which is what he kept doing in the past. But I'll tell you what. After he made that bonehead play where he broke his collarbone on a play that didn't matter out of bounds, when he came back, and you guys let me know if you guys see this the same way, he was a completely different player. He was still physical. He was still aggressive. He still had that nasty that you want out of a safety, but he played a lot smarter. And I saw him knocking the crap out of guys, but going to the waist now and going below the waist and legal hits where you can still hit a guy and make him remember you without knocking yourself stupid and without giving yourself a 15-yard penalty. And I loved the Jaleel Addae that I saw after the injury. Completely different player. And I was so happy when they re-signed him because I look forward to him being one of the just a bone crusher back there for the next few years. Requested, did you see it the same way?
Yeah, I actually have two plays that stick out to me in two particular games because I kind of have a photographic memory with these guys. The bad one would be when he hurt the receiver. God, what was his name? He used to play for Jacksonville.
George. Yes.
Yeah, Cecil. When he took Cecil's leg out, I don't think it was blatant, but that didn't help his reputation. But the positive play was that interception in the Raider game he took back. That was incredible, man. Like I was happy for him, and there's something about the defense on a whole that excites me when I see them. There's a definite brotherhood there, and that return was beautiful. That was a thing of beauty, man. That was incredible, and he definitely did. His skills did get better. I think you look around and you have two all-pro corners, and then you look back at the safeties, and then they were the weak link. So if I'm him, the corners motivate me. They're my peers. You know, Larry's a bit longer in the tooth, and I think that's kind of what happened. And as you alluded to earlier, the injury on his collarbone. I think all that together made for what we're going to see going forward with him.
What are your thoughts on Jalil Adai, Jake?
I'm not gonna lie. I thought the contract numbers were a little bit higher than what I thought that he deserved. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was something that was necessary to do from a team aspect. Basically just bringing him back and obviously signing Russell Okung. Those are your two biggest free agent moves, along with franchising Melvin Ingram. But you needed to do that for the secondary. Obviously, you needed to keep some continuity in there, as much veteran leadership as you can. And from his standpoint, because he is the young dog and he is basically your enforcer that you have back there. He really does kind of set a tempo. And even though it may be in a negative way that he ends up hurting himself, I think he still does set a tempo. But he has, in my opinion, he's filled a lot of gaps since he obviously came on as an undrafted free agent a couple years back. So he has gotten better, but he always has room for improvement. But I think that those last couple of games that you guys mentioned showed a few of those type of holes that he's trying to clean up in his game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was – I don't like to see anybody get injured, especially here in San Diego where that's all we ever see is our players get injured. But at the same time, the way the league has changed, I requested, is the fact that if you hit anybody anywhere above the waist, you're going to get a penalty. It's just the way it is. You have to go below the waist to hit somebody. You absolutely have to. And it's unfortunately you are going to have some injuries. I know he hit one guy and he had the leg injury, and then he hit another guy, and the guy smashed his face on the ground. I remember a couple big hits from him, but ultimately that's just the way the league is gone.
Yeah, he's just a hitter. That's just what he is. And I think when you make a guy think about what he's going to do, then you get something that looks like Cromartie whiffing on a tackle against the Jets.
Oh, ouch. Thank you. Oh,
hey, you know what I mean?
That's ugly.
On Sean Green, I was like, what was that guy's name? He was such a run-of-the-mill player too, Sean Green. Yeah, I mean that's what happens. You can't have guys who were in high school before the rule change suddenly change their trajectory in the middle of their tackle. It's kind of tough. But I hear you. I mean, it's better than hitting people in the head. But I think overall he's getting it, and the money probably was a little bit rich, but I think that was the Chargers doing what they oftentimes do, and they're trying to say, like, hey, look, we're keeping our own, and they kind of overshot a bit, but I get it.
The problem with this, and Jake did bring it up, and I hadn't really thought about that, is the Chargers do have a history sometimes of kind of overpaying guys a little bit early, and I understand that, they don't want him to go somewhere else and be a superstar. That really does hurt. But sometimes this type of stuff does really come to bite them in the ass, especially like I know this is just a safety, but offensive linemen, we've done a lot of that where you sign a guy after he's given you about a half of a good year, and then all of a sudden you don't ever see anything from him again. And that's really what we've got from Adai. You've seen little flashes, but we really only have seen half of a good year, and that's towards the end of last year. So unfortunately, it's a chance. It's a chance I'm happy they took, but let's be honest. I was super happy when they re-signed Donald Butler too, and look where that went. So what do I know? The rest of the guys from the safety position, Dwight Lowery is a guy that you mentioned requested that's willing to take a role of a leader. It would have been real nice to see him take that role last year. Do you think you guys both think that he's going to be back this year? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to make the team. I'm saying that having no idea what his contract status is, having no idea how bad it's going to hurt to cut him, but just purely what we got on the field. I don't think he'll be back next year. Jake, what do you think?
Well, against my bitter judgment from what I said to you last year when we ended up signing Dwight Lowry, yeah, I think he'll end up being on the team come the first part of the season. You need the veteran leadership back there. This still is a very young secondary, and especially in the safety position where you still do have a lot of, outside of Jaleel, but just the way that he plays is so much different than Dwight Lowry. So you need obviously a veteran leadership in for those type of standpoints. For a Dexter McCoyle to back up, for an Adrian McDonald to back up, any of those type of things. So even if your plan is to ultimately draft a safety at 7, you still need as much veteran leadership as you can back there. And him being, the elderly of really all the defensive backs now with Brandon Flowers gone, the Chargers will definitely keep that. I know that they, as a system, they will like having his presence back there from a veteran standpoint.
Yeah, they do like a lot of leadership coming from the safety position. Requested, you agree with Jake? You think Lowry's coming back?
Yeah, I don't see another guy that they can get rid of yet. I mean, that they can replace him with just yet. But I don't know if I feel like he would necessarily be there from start to end. But in the beginning, definitely, until somebody potentially beats him out. Just because, as Jake was saying before, safeties don't really grow on trees. That's a position that just, they're not at a premium. So
now,
I'm sorry, they are at a premium.
Of the 4 safeties remaining on the roster, Jake mentioned a couple of them. We got Dexter McCoyle, Adrian McDonald, Adrian Phillips, and Darrell Stuckey. Now, of those 4 guys, boy, this is not going to be very popular, but I even hate to say it because I do like the guy, but I'm almost ready to move on from Darrell Stuckey, to be honest with you. I haven't seen the special teams play that we used to get out of him, and I've never really been a giant fan of him when he's actually at the safety position. Adrian Phillips, he's been the guy that they've always plugged in there when they get all these injuries towards the end of the year. He's usually starting. Never been, like I said, nice guy. I don't hate on him or anything, but I wouldn't mind moving on from him. Dexter McCoyle, I was kind of high on him in the preseason. I was excited to see what we'd get out of him this year. I thought they'd play him more of like a hybrid, but like a nickel guy. Maybe it was just because it was his first year with the team. I didn't see everything out of him that I was expecting to, but I'm willing to have a little bit of patience and see what he does from last year to this year. And I'm actually kind of excited about the shortest guy of the remaining guys, and that's Adrian McDonald. I kind of think that we might get something out of him. I know we only had him for 1 year. We've only seen him for 1 year. We didn't get a whole lot from him. But I'm kind of excited what his future holds. What's your thoughts on the 4 remaining safeties on the roster? Do you? I'm sure you probably don't agree with what I said about Darrell Stuckey, but what about the other guys? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, request it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. No worries.
I was looking at you. I just didn't say it.
It's all right. McDonald, McCoyle,
Adrian Phillips, and Darrell Stuckey.
Right. Again, I think collectively they don't look like much, right? But the one consistent thing with the secondary is the youth. So then you have one guy who's a little bit older. So it can go one of 2 ways. I mean, you can keep him for his veteran leadership, but then you could also cut him, save some money on the books. I think you can manufacture another safety and basically lose both those guys. You could get rid of Stuckey and Lowry if you really want to be bold enough, because if you draft somebody else, some other guy's bound to get cut, right? And you just don't know. I don't see that as a lock at all. I think I think Jaleel's the only guy that's really safe in terms of Stuckey and Lowry. The other guys are much younger and they don't command a lot of money.
That's actually a good point. I think you're right. I agree. The only safety on the team that's a lock is Jaleel Addae. I think any of these other guys could actually get cut. What's your thoughts, Jake?
I think Dexter McCoyle has a great shot of remaining on this roster throughout training camp, and I specifically bring that up because of the way that Gus Bradley runs his system. He likes the familiarity with the bigger defensive backs. Cam Chancellor. So I know he's going to look at Dexter's size as a huge plus and try to develop that as best as possible. I've always been a big fan of Adrian McDonald coming out of Houston. I wrote a piece on him, back when he had first joined the team and as an undrafted free agent. His ball hawk production just through his college days were huge. Again, not the biggest guy out there, but he had some coverage skills and some ball skills that you definitely like to see on film. So I like his potential. I still think that it can be a camp battle between him and Adrian Phillips if it ultimately comes down to that. And, I understand everybody's argument against Stuckey. Obviously, if you're going to have the guy, sign on a team as a veteran for that much money that he's commanding, which still, if you weigh it against any of the other defensive backs, it's not that much. But you'd like to see him do more than be a special teams gunner. But let's not forget how valuable a former special teams gunner in the name of Kasim Osgood was for us many moons ago. He is literally that. And he still is a big mark on that and a leader of that special teams unit. So we know how vital special teams is, especially when it comes to punt returns and kickoff returns and everything like that. So you need as much fresh bodies out there that you can, and fresh bodies out there with the type of experience that Stuckey has. On this team, there isn't that much. So he does prove his value in that regard.
Before we move on from safety, I had kind of mentioned a little bit last week. We didn't want to talk too much defense. I do think that that's probably the most glaring need on the defense. At the same time, I'm not quite sure that I'm totally sold on spending my number 7 pick in the first round on a safety. It just seems so high to spend on a safety. Are you, Jake, comfortable with the Chargers using that pick for the safety position?
I'm comfortable with it because I'll understand the value if you're talking about two of the safeties in Malik Hooker or Jamal Adams being there. If they're there, to me are worth the 7th round pick. But if the Chargers choose to go in a different direction and pick up a safety in the 2nd or the 3rd round, they're lucky enough that the safeties in this draft are deep enough that it could warrant finding some good talent in those type of rounds. So there's a lot of different directions that the Chargers could go when it comes to selecting a safety. But if you're telling me that one of those two guys is still on the board when the number 7th pick comes around, I think the Chargers would be hard pressed to not take either one of those guys.
Requested, are you comfortable with the Chargers using that pick for a safety?
Definitely. Especially if it is Hooker, because he's such a stud, man, and there might be a little Ohio State affinity, like I had mentioned before, and there's something about when you get guys together that know each other, there's a bit of, you kind of bump your coach, like, hey, coach, or whoever, like you gotta take a look at him, you kind of unofficially become an agent. I can totally see, Bosa doing that, Perry reaching out and saying, hey, we're going to get you in here and, recreate some Ohio State magic. Cause we are ringless, right? In Ohio State, they're turning it around. They're not choke artists anymore. They're getting it together. So, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, moving on to the other positions, the most important thing the most important positions on the team that I think that I said last year was offensive line and defensive line. So let's start with defensive tackle. Now, I think that what was a point of weakness for the Chargers when they moved to their 4-3 defense, I think it's going to be a huge point of strength. You got 2 defensive tackles. So we got Brandon Mebane, of course, at 1, and then Corey Liuget moving inside to the other. I am very happy with those 2 guys, especially when you're rotating in Damian Square, who did fabulous last year when he finished the season for Mebane when he was injured, and then Tenny Palapoy, who I know the Chargers re-signed him, and I think he's out for one more game, which is, I was very, very happy with what I saw from him. I think we actually have a very deep team defensive tackle-wise when we're talking about 4-3. Do you agree with that, Jake?
Oh, 100%. I thought the exact same way that you did when we were transitioning to a 4-3, because I always thought from a size comparison, especially up the middle, that the team was more well-built for a 4-3. Not only that, you had more guys from college experience that were used to the 4-3 system, as Corey Liuget from Illinois. Obviously Brandon Mebane has the experience of doing it from Gus Bradley's system. Who else am I missing? Damian Square, I believe, came out of a 4-3 as well as our other guy, who's our little guy out of Arkansas. Why am I forgetting his name?
Is it Carruthers?
Not Carruthers, the guy who ended up taking his spot. Oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on this?
Hold on. Shoot. Keep going. I was going to bring him up too. Man. Let me move on to.
Are you guys? Did you guys mention Karan Reed already?
Yeah, and that's. I was going to ask you about him because I
Karan
think he's
Reed
going
coming
to
out of Detroit. Yeah, also
Darius Philon.
Thank you. Yes, Darius Philon coming out of Arkansas,
yes.
also 4'3". So for the size that we have, remember these guys are not that big. You're maybe running around. With Legit as one of the exceptions, a majority of them are 6'2". Palapoi, Square, Mebane, all these guys are about that type of height. So they build a lot more off of their speed, and they're able to penetrate a little bit better because of the defensive line formation. So I think that for what the Chargers already have on their roster, that if you are planning on adding defensive linemen through the draft, that's probably something that you might be able to wait on until the mid to the later rounds, because I don't think it's as pressing of a need. But if you have a person like a Malik McDowell, if you happen to trade down, from or a number of different positions. So there's a Charles Harris, Caleb Brantley out of Florida, Carlos Watkins out of Clemson. These are guys that you can get in the mid round. So it's completely possible and conceivable that the Chargers could spend a pick, but I don't think it's going to be that high of one considering the talent that they already have along the defensive line.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually pretty excited. Interior defensive line requested. What are your thoughts, defensive line on the interior?
You know what? That's Jake's field. I'm looking it over right now. I was looking at Mayock's stuff here, and I'm not as up on the D-line as I'd like to be. So, Jake, I if you could have whoever – if the Chargers can get whoever they want, who would you look at?
If it were me,
yeah,
I don't know necessarily if I'd spend the 7th round pick on him, but I think Malik McDowell makes a lot of sense for the Chargers and the 4-3 system, just because of the strengths that he does. Obviously, with his size and dimension, you want a little bit more size in there, and it's been a long time since the Chargers have had an effective size guy that can actually cause a lot of havoc up the middle. So, him being 6'5" and the weight that he's at, it's a much better change of scenario for that defensive line that just is so bad for being a little bit smaller along the inside. But a lot of people, I've seen him compare them to Carlos Dunlap from the Bengals. He just does, he's got long arms. He's got a prototypical, defensive end, defensive tackle type of body. So he could do a lot of stuff from sidestep blocks, initial burst off the line, getting through the one gap penetrations, and making plays in a lot of different fashions that he does. And he put together a couple good years at Michigan State, being productive, and he's versatile. So you can put him in a lot of different areas along the defensive line, which we all know that the Chargers love versatility. So I think from a scheme fit, if you were to tell me who my top guy would be in that circumstance, again, maybe not warranting the 7th overall pick if you trade down. Maybe in the maybe still just go outside of the top 10, maybe between the 10 and 13 range. I think in that circumstance, I think Malik McDowell would be a great pickup for the Chargers.
Yeah, we got, because looking at what I have here listed under Mayock, he's got Jonathan Allen, he's got Chris Wormley, Malik McDowell, Caleb Brantley, Larry, I can't pronounce his last name, Ogunjobo, I'm butchering it. And Dalvin Tomlinson. I'm sure you're aware of all those guys.
Yes.
So, Jason, go ahead, man.
Well, I was
you're about to say something.
No, I was just going to say sticking with the defensive line, kind of moving from the inside to the outside. It's going to be very, very interesting what the Chargers do, because we got Joey Bosa is going to stay on the end. Our other defensive end is going to be Melvin Ingram, most likely. I mean, I think he's going to turn into a defensive end. Now, Karan Reed, who we loved what we saw until he got his leg twisted. I'm assuming he's going to be moving. They have him listed as a defensive tackle, but I think they had him playing end anyways. Do you see him inside or outside, Jake, when he comes back next year?
I could see him actually either or spot. I think he's versatile enough to where he could play that. But I would probably assume that, considering who you have coming off of the edge, I would assume that he would kick inside. Now, requests that ask me, who would be my top choice. That's all things being considered, that certain guys are already off the board by the time 7 rolls around.
Right.
And there's been some talk, specifically just because of his health concerns, but Jonathan Allen from Alabama, there's a huge possibility that he could actually fall right into the Chargers' lap at 7. And this is a guy who, months before the Combine, were really putting them up there with Myles Garrett as 1A and 1B. And that's some pretty good value to get if those comparisons end up being true and you end up picking this guy up at 7 and you basically bookend him across from Joey Bosa in your 4-3 defense. Now, you got a pretty mean front four that you have coming up there. So there's a lot of different possibilities. So if I had to take it from a standpoint of, if you're going to tell me who would I take number 1 overall, yeah, from the standpoint of who's going to be there, obviously that's going to be different. Jonathan Allen, Solomon Thomas are going to be there, but realistically, if we're talking by the time that the Chargers pick at 7, Malik McDowell would probably be in that conversation for sure.
Would either one of you guys be comfortable with us drafting a defensive lineman number 1 or number 7 in the first round? Go ahead. You first requested.
You know what? I'm gonna go off of what Jake said, and if he feels that strongly, him being our draft guru, probably not, man. I don't think so, because you guys, did bring up Karan Reed a couple different times. I brought him up once, and I feel like there's enough there to where I don't think it warrants a first or even second round draft pick. I think the Chargers have proven that they can find some talent in the later rounds at that position. So no, I think that's a reach at that position. Yeah.
Jake, would you be comfortable if they drafted a defensive lineman in the first round?
In my opinion, I mean, I'm kind of on the same line here as requested. If you're telling me that Jamal Adams and Malik Hooker are off the board, if you're telling me that Jonathan Allen is still available, Malik McDowell is still available, you're basically putting those. I mean, take a look at the rest of your roster. Where does everything else fit in terms of value? It's a possibility if Jonathan Allen's there. That's basically number 1 or number 2 value that you're getting at 7. I could totally see that as a possibility the Chargers doing. He did meet privately with the Chargers, so I could definitely see it as something happening. But me personally, I think it all just depends on what your board looks like by the time number 6 goes around. If you're going to ask me today, no, I'm going to say that that's not the case. Normally my brain goes more of need, and last year the Chargers were able to hit on both. They were able to get best player available as well as need, so they got really lucky. But in this circumstance, if that's the route that the Chargers are going to go is strictly for need, then no, I think with who projecting everything out, who is going to be there at number 7, I don't think a defensive lineman would be worth a number 7 pick. If you traded down, 5 or 10 spots, then we're in complete different conversation here. And I'm telling you, give me those defensive linemen all day long. But at number 7, I'm hard pressed to say anything other than a safety at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm talking out both sides of my mouth here because I'm not super comfortable drafting a safety with our number 1 pick. However, that's kind of what I'd like to see the Chargers do because that does seem to be the most pressing need. And although a better pass rush will make up for a Dwight Lowery as a starting safety, you still I don't know. I'm really, really happy with the defensive line that we have right now, especially moving on to the 4-3. You got some really good linebackers that are going to be probably moving up to the line. I think the pass rush is actually going to be pretty good next year. At the same time, you can never have too many good linemen, and if you can just draft a lineman that's going to be 1/4 second better than the guy he's replacing, then that's going to make up all the difference on the back end. So talking out of both sides of my mouth here, I always want to see upgrades on the defensive line, but I do still think they need to go safety.
I think your logic is perfectly warranted there, Jason, because you're looking at it in terms of value. Like I had just said to open the second when you were talking about safety, that you can get a good safety in the 2nd or the 3rd round in this draft. It literally is that deep.
Right.
With the linemen in this class, outside of the 1st round, it's not as impressive. So if you have an opportunity to get a premier pass rusher along the defensive line, then why not go the BPA route? Hey, I'm all for it. I have no argument against it. By me just taking from, if you judge off the mock drafts and judging what these teams should do from 1 through 6, then it sounds like it's going to come down to we're going to have a choice between Jamal Adams and Malik Hooker, which I would definitely choose. But we always know that at the top part of the draft, especially when it comes to the discussion of any type of quarterbacks, that something is going to be completely different, and you may actually be gifted a certain player that just so happens to fall into your lap, or you may find yourself in a trade scenario. But I understand your logic completely, and I totally agree with it, that from a value standpoint, there's more of a premium on defensive linemen in this class to get in the first round than there is necessarily from a safety position because it's so deep.
And we do know that we're going to end up losing somebody, because you always do. So you just want to see them put the best people that they can out there on the defensive line, and you can never have too much depth. Moving back to linebackers is going to be interesting with only 3 linebackers on the field. Do you guys both? It looks like it's going to probably be Denzel Perryman, Jatavis Brown, and Kyle Emanuel probably as the starting 3 linebackers. Do you guys agree with that, or do you see it a different way? Requested.
Okay, repeat it.
I got Denzel Perryman, Jatavis Brown, and Kyle Emanuel as the 3 starting linebackers.
And then Ingram puts his hand down.
I got Ingram moving up to defensive end. That's the way I see it. I have no inside information. That's just kind of the way I see it.
No, I got you. Yeah, just listening. God, that's tough, man. It's hard to say because he's so good off the edge. It seemed like you'd be doing him a disservice if you don't let him come off the edge, But then Kyle's not a big guy either, so it's interesting. And then what do you do? And then I guess Toomer comes in and spells people,
right?
And then who I can kind of see with their hand down more than anything, but he's not a starter, is a Tauchu.
Yeah, me too. But he was such a disappointment last year. I see him also. I actually see him moving up to defensive end as well, but just rotating in. I don't see him playing linebacker anymore. I see him moving up to defensive end.
I'm actually kind of stumped on that. Like, I can't picture how the heck it's going to look, really. I got a question for you guys, though.
What's that?
Do you think the Chargers are bold enough to potentially go out and get a Reuben Foster, compromising Ingram's future?
Take it, Jake.
I have been thinking about this, honest to God, because so many people that I talked to, and I've even looked at it a number of times. Just if you were to take where the Chargers stand at 7, I've looked at it, and if you have some players that end up going, let's just say the first 6 picks are all defense, and both of your safeties are gone. Jonathan Allen's gone. Solomon Thomas is out of there. You're almost kind of in no man's land, and if for some reason that you can't execute a trade, why not put on your BPA hat on and go outside the realm and draft Reuben Foster? I have had thoughts about this. I've had conversations about this. I mean, why in the world not? I don't know how anybody would be disappointed with that pick either, because that is going to be a guy who is literally going to set the tempo for your linebacking core. Just go on and flip on the tape and see how that guy plays the game. I mean, that to me is a bigger, stronger Denzel Perryman in that type of body. And I think he plays with even more of a reckless abandonment, likes to hit people. So I could totally see that as an outside possibility, something that I personally would definitely be okay with. Because I know that you would know hands down that the Chargers just got a premium player if you decide to take Reuben Foster at 7. Some people might criticize it, say it's a little bit high, unexpected. I don't see that. I've seen everything I need to see from the tape. Combine incident aside, that guy, fit him in wherever you need to fit him in. But that guy is going to make a difference to your defense if that's a route you choose to go.
Now, getting back to what we were talking about just a second ago, linebacker core, if we go with what currently is on the roster right now, do you see Melvin Ingram putting his hand down and moving up to defensive end, or do you see him playing linebacker? And after that, who do you see as the starting 3 linebackers?
I see him going back to defensive end. Remember, South Carolina, where he came from, he was used to the defensive end position. Luckily for us, we got a very versatile player who's done well for himself while coming off the edge. So he'll go back to his natural position. The one player that I'm really very worried about is Jeremiah Tauchu, because he was a natural 3-4 outside linebacker when he was drafted. That is what they brought him in for here. And now going into this transition, where are you really fitting him. I don't know, to be perfectly honest. If it's me grading out the three linebackers that are going to be in the middle, I know that you've got Jatavius Brown. You're going to have Denzel Perryman in the middle. I would even go Joshua Perry, to be perfectly honest, because he's familiar with that scheme as well. And I think he's actually a better fit for that type of position for the 4-3. So that I would actually put him above Kyle Emanuel in that circumstance, just because of the defensive formation. And I don't know where you plug in Emmanuel and Toomer from that standpoint. I'm sure you figure out somewhere to have them. But the one guy who almost has his foot out the door in this entire situation is Jeremiah Tauchu. And it's strictly just because where are you going to use him? How is he going to come around? Not to say that he can't be effective. We'll give him the opportunity to do it, but where do you put him?
Yeah, I agree. I'm really interested. I do think that they are going to move him up to defensive end and try and rotate him in, but he just had such a poor season last year, and for whatever reason. And it's interesting that you mentioned Josh Perry, because we were all pretty high on him when he got drafted. We were all really excited. Everybody talked about how great he was, and he seemed to have a real quiet year on a team that had quite a few injuries, where he could have had an opportunity to really go in there and kind of make a statement. I know he was only a rookie, but a guy like Corey Toomer, who the Chargers ended up re-signing now, really is the one who went in there and took advantage of the situation. And Josh Perry, maybe I don't know, did he maybe not get the opportunity, or was it just too much for him? Am I being a little bit hard on him? What's your thoughts on Josh Perry, Requested?
Oh man, I was excited. I was like, "Ooh, me! I want to put my hand up." Oops, I got disconnected for a second. You know what? It's weird, man. I liken him to Dexter McCoy. Like, going into the season, I really didn't know what was up with either of them. I wanted to be a fan of both of them, but neither. And I know they're totally different positions. I get that, but neither one of them did anything to separate themselves. And
You there? Uh-oh. You there? Hello? Oh, something's happening.
I don't know.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, you know what? He just didn't do anything to stand out. I don't know if he was playing special teams primarily, but Toomer, on the other hand, that guy became one of my favorites. So, Perry, what round did we get him? Did we get him in the 5th or something?
I think it was 5th, yeah.
So he's not a lock, you know what I mean? Because he was drafted a little bit later, and the linebacking core does seem a bit deep. We're probably going to go out and get a couple more. I don't know if he's safe, and he's got some other things that he wants to do, which is fine. You know, football may not be the only thing he ends up doing, but I don't think as of now I'm a Joshua Perry guy.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's just a little bit too early. Jake, real quick on Josh Perry, what are your thoughts on him?
We just need to see more of him. Again, I don't think we got as big of an opportunity to see what you do out there as you know we potentially could have. And that's because, I mean, still, even last year and this year, your linebacking core is ridiculously deep. I mean, it's the deepest position, I think, with talent that it has. And then, you know, you have someone like Teo go out and you bring in a Corey Toomer as a replacement who just ends up being a machine. You know, the coaches are going to take wind of that and still keep Joshua Perry as a second string player. So I don't think, you know, when he had certain opportunities, I believe that he had actually forced 1 or 2 fumbles down, I think, the last 6 games. Couldn't remember specifically if it was 1 or 2. I think it was 1. But, you know, you just need to give him a little bit more opportunity. And again, it's sending him back to a defense that he's going to be familiar with Gus Bradley, with a new defensive formation. I'm sure that he's going to want to get every ounce of play that he can out of Joshua Perry. So ultimately, you know, I think from his standpoint, it's a good learning curve year. You know, he's got a lot of veterans to learn around and the opportunity that he's been given. So hopefully he's going to be able to take a step in his sophomore season.
I'm hoping we see a little bit of a step from him this year. And then his 3rd season, I'm expecting to see a really big step from him. I think he's going to be a little bit more down the road type player, but I am hoping to see some big things from him. Real quickly, Justin's going to be calling in just a minute. He's trying to get through to talk about Padres, so we're going to wrap things up. Before I let both of you guys go, cornerbacks. we're pretty happy with our starting cornerbacks. You know, Casey Hayward and Jason Verrett. We had some other guys step up a little bit. You know, Trevon Reed and Craig Mager never really stepped up. You know, I was hoping he would.
Your boy.
I actually see the Chargers once again. It seems like every year they at least draft one or two cornerbacks. I wouldn't be surprised to see them draft a cornerback in maybe the third round. Do you think that that's a little bit too high?
That may not be even high enough.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised. I mean, again, that they brought in a lot of guys during this draft process. Kevin King, who's a 6'3" defensive back. You know, they met with Desmond King as well. I'm a fan of Tre'Davious White out of LSU. Don't forget, you still really need to fill in the nickel position. Even though Trevon Reed's going to get his opportunity to shine for where he was playing in defensive back, you still need to fill out that nickel position. And for some reason, I doubt he's going to be there. But Awuzie out of Colorado, for some reason he's there at the top end of the second round. I would not mind selecting him. He's a natural slot corner, and they're on the field. Don't forget, 60% of the time. So they definitely play a big role in that type of the defense. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers went defensive back in the second or the third round.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Last word on the cornerbacks there requested. Do you think that the Chargers might draft one kind of high?
Yeah, I think so for sure. You know, Gilmore from Buffalo was somebody that the head coach is familiar with, obviously, and I think that he's going to want to bring some of the tangibles that he had in Buffalo to San Diego.
Yeah,
so
that's a good call.
Yeah, so he's probably going to go for some. I'm sure, you know what? He's already got his eye on somebody like that. You know, he does. There's no way you go from one organization to another if you don't get your guy and get like a young clone. So I could totally see that as well.
I agree. Well, we're going to be. We do need to move on. Talk Padres. Justin, looking forward to actually being on the air with him. It's been a few months since we've been talking, so I'm going to let the both of you guys go. I look forward to next week. Next week, there will be no structure. We will be able to talk anything draft, which I know makes Jake excited.
I'm ready, baby.
Yeah, there will be no. We're taking the reins off, man, and we will talk any draft. We'll go any direction. We'll just kind of see where it goes, and maybe and we'll just kind of see how long it goes. Hopefully, maybe we'll push the Padres maybe next week so we can and just talk draft, just talk Chargers draft, and see where it goes. But I appreciate both of you guys coming on this week. I do look forward to once again going up and doing the draft party with you. What articles do we have to look forward to from you, Jake?
It's funny you were talking about the cornerbacks and the safeties. That's the position on defense that I'm centralizing around this week. I'm just trying to isolate the player it is that I want to write about. And of course, not being such a high-profile player that everybody has talked about these days, I like picking someone in the middle rounds that not a lot of people know much about. So still working on that, but I mean, thus far, doing one offensive player and one defensive player a week leading up to the draft. So it's going to be exciting.
Awesome. Requested. Anything we have to look forward to from you, or are we just going to look forward to talking to you next week on the draft?
You know what? I'm going to brush up, man. So I could at least bring Jake some donuts and stuff while he's breaking it down for us,
I don't even waste my time brushing up. I just listen to you guys.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, man, thanks for having us on, Jason. I'll talk to you next week, buddy.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate both of you guys coming on and hanging in there for the weeks that we were off. We look forward to, once again, to talking draft next week. Thanks a lot, guys.
Definitely. All right. Take care. Take care, Jake.
All right, man.
You too, buddy.
So that was Jake Hefner and Requested, both of them on the Skype line talking to us about the defensive side of the draft. We are going to take a quick break. We're going to be coming back on the other side. We're going to have Justin, the OG San Diego Sports Junkie, coming on. It's going to be interesting because him and I haven't had a whole lot of time to talk Padres, so this is going to be fresh for me too. I want to see where his attitude is towards the Padres. I want to see how his feelings are towards the Padres and what his thoughts are on how the season has started so far. We'll be right back on the other side.
Calling all podcasters. Have you ever wanted your voice to be heard? Do you need help expanding your audience? Are you curious just how far your show could reach? Well, look no further. We are New Media Radio Network, the premier podcast streaming network. Let us take your show to the next level. For more information, check out our website, www.newmediaradio.net.
All right, we are back. We are finished for the day talking Chargers draft. It was a lot of fun. I want to thank Jake Hefner and Requested for coming in. We have a special treat. It's been months since we have been on the air together. Justin, my brother from another mother, what's up, man?
What's up, Jay, dude? It's been too long, and I'm sorry that I haven't been on the past couple weeks. It's been a crazy month for me, too, and I wish I could have taken this month off. Like you had stuff going on in your life too. So just happy to be on with you and talk a little Padres.
Yeah, I appreciate you making time because I do know that you're going through nothing bad, but you just have a lot of stuff going on in your life, just like I did. I took some time off. It was some needed time off. And then now that your life's getting busy, I decided let's start the show back up again. Not really fair to you.
It's okay. No, hey, everybody has their own deal, so it's no bueno, man. It's okay though.
So I appreciate you you still being able to make time because I know moving sucks and all that stuff. And
it's okay, bro.
Bottom line, we got the Padres are 5-5. That you can't tell me you're not surprised that I'm shocked that they're. I know it's early, but I'm shocked that they're still 510 games into the season.
No, right. 10 games in, you go, well, they're going to be 2-8, 1-9.
Yeah.
If you would have read all the prognosticators and Buster Onlys of the world, so the worst baseball team in the world, and I get that. It's 10 games in. There's nothing to, get crazy about. But you gotta admit, Jay. I mean, they've been exciting to watch, have they not? I mean, you've probably caught a couple games.
Let me tell you, I've been watching, and I will tell you, I was talking to Darren at work today, and I said. And they still have a lot of work to do, but
sure.
I would rather see a team struggle the way that they are now scoring runs than have. Remember when we had a great pitching staff and no hitting? So our pitchers were going out there and giving up 2 runs and losing, and those games sucked so bad because when you gave up 2 runs in the first, you go, well, fuck, let's turn it off because this game's over. We're not going to score. That's not how it is now. Unfortunately, we have a pitching rotation that has 5. I don't know if this has ever happened before. 5 number 5 starters is what we have right now.
Yes, and 2 of them are on the deal.
Yeah, well, what a surprise.
So there you go. No, not a surprise at all.
We got a rotation full of number 5 starters. We will have games where we're down 7-2 in the 3rd inning. That's just going to happen. That is going to happen this year. We need to understand that. Jared Weaver, he hasn't pitched horrible. He will have a couple horrible games. You can just anybody whose fastball is that slow is just gonna happen. We have to understand that.
Right.
But here's something that a buddy of mine and I have been talking about the last couple of days. It's very, very disappointing. I'm going to name off a few guys. Renfroe, Schimpf, Margot, Hedges. Of those guys, who should be starting out the best offensively? Of those guys, who should be? If you think about how much time they've had in the major league, how much experience they have, of those 4 guys,
you said Schimpf, Margot, and who? Hedges and
Renfroe. Who would you expect?
You would say Hedges. You would say Hedges.
Hedges is the one guy that you would say. I know it's only 10 games.
I'll counter that though, Jay, and I'll say that I'd say 3 out of the 4. With the exception of Schimpf with the batting average, he did hit another bomb today, but I would say 3 out of the 4 are proven, not proven, I wouldn't say Hunter's proven, but Hunter, we know what we're getting with Hunter.
Yeah.
I think the two rookies that we're really focused on right now is Margot and Renfroe, and I think when you look at 2 of those guys, you look at a guy like Margot at the top of the lineup, and you go, okay, Andy Green can fill out his lineup and put Margot in the 1 or the 2 hole.
Yeah.
And that's what he's been rotating with Jankowski. This kid has been legit from the get-go. Yeah, he's been great, and it's been a very. When have we had a fucking leadoff guy? Excuse my French.
Yeah.
At the beginning of our order, that could really ignite the offense like this. Got 3 home runs in 10 games.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple RBIs. The guy gets on base. He can steal a base. Then you put a Jankowski in the tool. Him and Renfroe, you know what you're getting at a Renfroe. Renfroe's going to strike out a lot, right?
I don't care. Give me home runs. If you're going to strike out, give me home runs.
Yes. Be exciting. Be fucking exciting. And that's what I keep telling people at work.
Yeah.
This is the most excited I've ever been for a Padres team that I've ever remembered, because these are proven prospects that people have rated highly throughout the entire system. And they go, okay, these guys can play at the major league level. And they're kind of proving that right now. I know Renfroe strikes out a little too much, but he'll get there, dude.
I don't
it's okay.
mind that. I hate to compare it, you always got to find something to compare it to. So you compare it to like the Cubs of like 2 or 3 years ago, where they took these young guys. They were struggling. They struggled a little bit because they were all young.
Right.
But these are all young guys that are going to get better.
Yeah.
Renfroe's going to struggle, but you're seeing stuff from him. Margot is going to struggle. He looks like legit, a legit all-star right now, but he's going to struggle.
Sure.
Jankowski of the 3 outfielders has probably the least talent and the least upside of all 3 of those. Let's be honest.
Right.
Not that I don't like him.
Right.
Not everybody's going to be an all-star. I'm fine with that. Schimpf, same thing. He's still young. He played well last year. I'm happy.
You know what? Yeah, and you know what Schimpf provides though, and not to get off track, but the guys you named, those are 4 key components. We haven't even named Will Myers.
Exactly.
And he's going out at. The thing is, Jay, we know all too much. We've done this podcast for years, and in these years that we've talked about Padre baseball, by week 2, we're out of things to talk about. We are literally out of the race, and we're out of things to talk about. And I hate to say that every year, but god dang, if we're in 3rd place today, which we are, and I did the math today, after today's ball games, we're either tied or better than 21 teams in baseball. If you would have told me that 2 weeks ago, I would have said you're an idiot and get out of my office.
Yeah.
like go away. Like, don't talk to me. I know the Padres are going to struggle this year because their starting pitching's horrible, and that's what you win with is starting pitching. But if you would have told me that, Jay, and we've you know how near and dear the Padres are to me and yourself and to Josh, who is another OG.
Yeah.
We talked Padres like it was a fraternity here. We love our Padres, but it's so tough to talk about them when they're not doing anything exciting.
Right.
So the topics aren't there. Now you add in these kids that can play defense and bat and lead off and take pitches and take walks. It is amazing what the enthusiasm will do.
Yes.
And I can't tell you how my timeline on Twitter has been just phenomenal. Like, it doesn't even care if they lose 3-2 like we did yesterday night.
Right.
It was ridiculous. The people are just so excited. They go, at least we're in it. You know?
And
we didn't lose 10-3. We lost
Yes.
3-2. So
or we didn't lose 1-0, which was very, very frustrating.
Yes.
With 12 strikeouts.
Right.
But I want to circle back a little bit.
Sure.
Austin Hedges so far, he has 1 hit and he's batting .037.
Sure.
It's only 10 games in. I get it.
Yep.
But I'm frustrated, and I'm going to tell you why. Because of all of these guys,
Yeah.
he has the shortest leash in my book. He's the one who has the most experience of those guys.
Yeah.
He's the one who should be the one that you're not worried about. Okay, and Mikey and I talked about it last week, and I said, what kind of a season does he have to be not disappointing? And I'm thinking, he's got to at least give me 260. He's got to hit 260 and play the defense that we all expect. And I know it's only 10 games in, but he looks lost out there. His at-bats, last night I'm texting with a friend, I'm thinking, all he has to do is get a tie this game up with an RBI here and all. And he looked horrible. He looked horrible up there.
You're all, where's Rene Rivera when you need him? You got to filter for these guys. I totally understand.
He looked like
man.
a pitcher up there. He just looked
lost. He almost looked nervous.
Yes.
And but I don't think he is. I think he's pressing too much. And I think it'll come. And he got a hit today, which wasn't really a hit. It was like a dribbler, which is fine. He got his first hit finally, which is good. Maybe it'll get his confidence up. Hey, I got a hit. I contributed. But then the next hitter came up and grounds into a double play. So I'm sure that didn't help too much. But as far as Hedges goes, I'm on the other side. I'm going to let this kid play out because he's done his time, and I know what you're saying. He's had the most experience of them all, of these rookies. But this kid, what he did last year in the PCL League, he raked. And if Alan Zinter is the hitting coach now, and 2 years now, he's helped him become what he's been doing. So getting that process back and making sure that he does the fundamentally type things to get his swing where it needs to be, I think he can contribute. And I am a little alarmed at the start, but I will say the last 3 or 4 games, he's been smoking the ball. It's just been at defenders, and that happens to guys. We got to remember there are hitters in this league that have won batting titles that are off to really bad starts too. 2 for 25, 2 for 28. There are guys that are all around the league sprinkled in that you go, okay, this guy is going to get off the schneid eventually. So I'm not going to give me 20 games. Give me 25 games even. Okay. I'll let that leash go a little longer. Okay. But I see what you're saying, dude. You don't have to preach to me. I'm getting a little worried, but
I'm a little frustrated, and I hate to hate on guys. I really do, especially this early. But it looks like the Padres basically cleared the position out. They said, okay, this is your job. We're going to clear everybody out. We're going to trade away everybody. The one guy that could maybe take your job, let's make him pitch and play the outfield.
That's the one guy.
Yeah, the one guy that has a chance to take you to be your threat. This is your position.
Yeah,
and they've really gone all in on Austin Hedges.
And let me just intertwine there because you said it's your job to lose. Well, Hunter Renfroe's job to lose too, and nobody's playing right field going to be better than him. Jabari Blash ain't coming in hitting the ball better than Renfroe did in the PCL League when he was the league MVP there.
But at least Blash is a chance that there is a guy. I mean, if Renfroe is sucking, they'll put Blash out there. There's nobody else. It's Hedges or nothing. There's nobody behind him to play.
You were absolutely correct about that. You're absolutely correct about it. I just think as this season started, I was going to give all these guys all the patience in the world. I wanted to see some promise, and what they've been doing, 5-5, might not seem to the world like.
Oh, I think it's awesome.
Oh, they're better record than the Boston Red Sox right now. If you would have told me that before this season, I would have shit my pants. So I mean, it's one of those things, dude. The Padres probably won't keep this up all year, but at least they're exciting to watch on the base path. A perfect example, and I don't mean to get too crazy into this. Runners on the corners today, or yesterday, and it was Margot and Jankowski on the corners with like one out. I go, how exciting is this?
Yeah.
If somebody gets a double, both of these guys are scoring.
Yep.
I mean, it's ridiculous how much more the excitement is this year compared to the last couple of years, and that was even with the damn spending spree we did.
Yeah.
So, just excited to see the Padres performing well.
Yeah, not only that, but we got guys on the team that can get up there and hit a double now. That's what's really cool. And two guys that we haven't really talked about, Solarte and Myers. Myers, of course, is it's early, but he stayed healthy last year.
He's playing at an MVP rate in 10 games.
Great, yeah. And Solarte, I don't know why, I've always loved him. I've always loved Solarte, and I think that he's just one of those other guys that, he's going to be, maybe not an all-star, but he's going to be a really, really good player.
He's a solid guy, dude.
Yes.
He is. He can play everything in any position. He can hit for average. He's one of those guys that will contribute every year for you. It's pretty good.
Yes, and Ibar at short he's been all right. He's got a couple of hits. Solid.
Yeah, solid.
Upgrade over. I'm trying to remember.
Alexi Ramirez.
Yes, Alexi Ramirez. Thank you. What
he
a
was
train
terrible.
wreck, man. So definitely, position-wise out there, I'm very, very happy. I'm very happy with everything except Austin Hedges. And I don't want to hate on Austin.
Sure.
I know it's early, but he's the one position.
If you had, but that's funny. Like if we had to just critique one position last year, God, dude, like we would be like, oh yeah, there's going to be 1, 2, 4, 5. Oh, so we're going to be up to 7.
Yeah.
Chris Denorfia, like all these guys, like you're going, what the hell are these people doing out here?
Yeah.
Adam Rosal, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like,
that's right.
They're great players, but it's like, dude, this is a far cry from last year's team. And have you not enjoyed the bullpen?
Yeah.
Torres and Diaz. These Rule 5 kids have been coming in and just striking out batters. They've never played above A ball.
Unfortunately,
in their lives,
though, with our 5-man rotation, they're going to get a lot of work.
Oh
because, we're going to have a few guys only go 3 or 4 innings, and that's the whole bummer about this is the one position on the team that we've always been like, oh, this is the most solid thing. We've always been happy with our starting rotation. Sure. And the thing is, they're all not terrible. Any one of those guys can go out there and throw you a shutout. They could
exactly.
Chacin, but they're all going to be inconsistent. You're going to
Sure.
get a 3 innings 7 run from them, and then you're going to get an 8 innings 1 run from them. Richard's the same thing. Clayton Richard, one of my favorite Padres the first time around. I still love him. I've always loved Clayton Richards. I was so happy when they brought him back.
That Dodger game.
But I'm a realist. I understand he is not going to throw a shutout every week. He just is not going to.
You know what that sets you up for?
What?
500 baseball.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. If you really, if you think about it, which wouldn't be a bad thing.
No, I'll take 500. I'll take 500.
Oh, we will. We're supposed to be the laughing stock of baseball this year. According to every article written, like that's the thing, Jay. Like the expectations were like not even low. They were like, why is this team in the majors? That's what they said. Like there were articles like that. So it's 10 games in. I'm not saying they're not going to lose 10 in a row this next week, but.
Right.
But from what we've gathered and seen, geez, man,
it's been a nice 10 games so far.
God, Manny Margot looks like a Rookie of the Year candidate immediately because of what he can do.
Stop calling him Manuel. Also, he's Manny.
Yeah, why do people say like, oh, he doesn't like Manny Margot? Well,
like
Manny we're American and we like Manny. Okay.
Manny sounds more like a baseball player. Anyways.
I'm not going to call you Manuel.
Too hard.
That's too hard, and I've had a long day. I don't want to say Manuel, okay?
Hunter Renfroe, one of the cool things about him and the rest of these guys, and we talked about it a little bit, is if they're going to strike out a little bit, but what I've always said in the past, you got to give me bombs too. If you're going to, as long as you're going to give me bombs, I'll be fine. You can't hit 220 with a bunch of singles and a bunch of strikeouts. You can't do that. But if you're going to hit 220, you're going to strike out a lot, and you're going to give me bombs, I'll take that. Be a threat. Sure. Be a threat. And like I said, I'm hoping Hedges turns around. Like I said, my buddy, he's ready to just say, hey, he says, let's bench him and give somebody else a shot and maybe let him think about it.
Sure.
I'm frustrated with him, but I think it's a little bit too early for that.
Oh, yeah. Way too early.
25 games is what you say?
Yeah, give him 25 games. Let him work it out, because today he got a base hit. Maybe his confidence goes up. He's one of the best defensive catchers in all of baseball, regardless of what he can do at the plate.
Yeah.
So that alone brings a lot. Dude, a guy can snap throw to first in 3.3 seconds or whatever it is. And get a guy out. He's so good. So give him a chance. Goodness gracious, we shouldn't jump early. Like, what do you think we're going to be? World Series contenders this year? No, not at all.
No, I 500 baseball would be awesome. I don't think they're going to play 500. I used to think they're going to lose 109.
It would be tough for 500. I agree.
I think it's still going to be a tough year, but tough year moving in the right direction.
Yeah, you just won 2 series in a row from the 2 division leaders at the time.
Yeah.
Pretty good, right? Who would have thought that the Padres would be in 3rd and the Dodgers and the Giants would be 4th and 5th? So, you sit here and go, well, it's early, but
we'll take it.
Yeah, it's early, but we would be in the cellar normally. So, F you guys.
We just
we need a little something to cheer about here in San Diego because we don't get that here.
We do need to. I just hope the 5-5 isn't getting everybody's You know how people in San Diego are.
5-5, man.
let's
They got as many wins as the Chargers did last year already, so that's a good thing.
We're there already. I had read somewhere like the Padres last year didn't win their 5th game until whatever date it was forever, so they're already ahead of that.
Exactly.
I just think that 5-5 they will not finish at 500. I still don't think that, but I do like what I see, and I like the direction, and I will be fine with finishing below 500.
Two runs away from being 6-4 sweeping the Rockies. So you finished 3-2. You're not getting blown out. The only game you really got blown out in is the first game of the year, and you were kind of embarrassed, which is fine. That's usually what we do. And it's Clayton Kershaw, for God's sakes. What do you think we're going to go out there and smoke him? But no, it's like, God, guys, give him a little break here. Even in the Dodger series, you had a chance to win another game there, and just didn't work out for you. So they're in a lot of games here, and it's going to be fun the rest of the way. But like we talked about in the beginning of this whole thing, is at least they're fun to watch.
Yes, they're fun to watch, and they're worth watching. And
yes,
I like watching them again, even if they're not winning every game. It's just fun to watch. The last couple of years, even the games they won weren't really fun. So
right. Exactly.
So they're kind of bringing the fun back, and I'm hoping.
And I can hear it now. I'm going to let you talk, but I can hear it in your voice, Jay, that you it's not that you're overly excited, because I know you're kind of like a standoffish kind of guy. You're a little pessimistic, but you know what? I can hear it like, wow, these guys can play a little baseball.
Yes.
Like, hey, it's fun to turn on the ball game at night and not get shut out 3-0 and there's no run.
I'm happy that they have some talent they're actually developing, because
rookie guys. These are guys they grew up.
That's been my complaint, is they can't develop talent. Since
that's going to change, dude, because this farm system is stocked.
So here's my arc of success for the Padres. This is what I'd like to see.
Let's hear it.
This year, we're going to finish below 500. We're going to struggle, but we're going to have some bright spots.
Sure.
Next year, we're going to either barely squeak into the playoffs, or we're going to be just on the edge of making the playoffs.
Okay, I like your style, dude.
And the year after that, we are a playoff team.
Yeah, that's the prediction. That's the prediction.
3 years from the playoffs, and 4 years from contending.
Yeah, no, and I want to speak on that, because that's the prognostication. It's the Padres are going to be god-awful this year, which I don't think they are. I think they're going to be semi-decent. I think they're going to have a lot of teams hell, and I think they're going to make it really hard on these NL West teams that really want to make the playoffs and are positioned to do it. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to be pissed that they have to play the Padres the last month of the year. I really do. I believe that if we stay healthy. But I agree with you. I think they're going to grow into the next year. They're going to battle their way to the top, maybe second, third, try to get into that spot, make life hell on everybody else again. And I really, really think they're going to break through in 2019.
Yeah.
And then that's really the prediction there, because the pitching that's down in the farm is going to come through that system, and we have so many. I'm talking so many. Yeah, and we have these guys down there, guys. I mean, you read everything in Baseball America, all these articles, whatever you're reading. Yeah. I know they have to do it, but projection-wise, the Padres are supposed to be nasty when it comes to pitching come about 2019, and that will go along with the hitting.
And they'll have some actual hitting, and they'll have some hitting, and if they can actually put that all together, we actually have something to look forward to, which is just beautiful.
But the thing is, too, and that's perfectly said, because you're watching the first wave come through. Right. You're watching the Margaux, the Hedges, the Renfroes, and some of these other kids come through, even a Suaje when he comes up here eventually. These guys will get back, and you're going to see the talent come through this place, and you're going to go, dude, and Will Myers is still going to be a young guy in a couple of years. So, I mean, the sky's the limit. They talked about waves, and this is the first wave. Let's let the waves come through. Second wave will be next year, and third wave will be, hopefully it's as good as the first couple.
Yeah, nice. We got. I wasn't paying attention to the chat room. I hope he's still in there.
Okay.
David Drugmeyer joined in there.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was actually in there talking Chargers too, but I wasn't paying attention. Sorry about that, David. But he did make a mention, and this is something that we didn't mention, and that is he loves Hunter Renfro's arm. He's got a cannon, and that's that's one thing that we haven't spoke about is the fact that we have 3 outfielders that are pretty damn good defensively too.
Oh, you can't even talking about their defense. I mean, you get so caught up in the offensive projections. You're going, well, Manny Margot can hit, Hunter Renfroe can hit, but Hunter Renfroe's arm holds guys to their base when he's thrown in. He throws guys out. He's phenomenal in the field. That cannon of an arm is going to get better at some point. He's going to be more accurate. I'm not calling him Mike Trout because that'd be a little stupid. But he has comparisons to Trout in certain areas, and I think one of the things is the arm, not the athleticism so much.
Yeah.
I think he can play the field, but not like Mike Trout. But I think the arm is the big deal there, and the power he's got there, because you usually got 5 tools, so. I think he'd had 4 of the 5 there, but he's really good. And up the middle, we're solid defensively with Hedges behind the plate. How do you win ball games? You win with pitching, defense. If the starters can go and the bullpen takes over to hold with your good defense, we're going to win some games this year. It just might not put you in that playoff category yet.
Let me ask you this back to the starting rotation. Like I said, we have a rotation full of number 5 starters this year. That's fine. We all understand that.
Yep.
The one guy that's in our starting rotation that I actually see with a good future with the Padres is the guy that, surprise, just went on the DL.
Right.
And that's Perdomo. Remember last year how horrible he looked at the beginning of the year?
Yep.
And last year how good he looked towards the
he
end
figured
of the
it
year.
out. Yeah, he figured it out.
Barring injury, or maybe maybe they should just give him the elbow surgery right now, and just that way it's done. I know I'm a Padre fan, and I look at everything through Padre glasses, but I could see him with the stuff that he has in a couple of years being a number 1 or number 2 starter on this team. Can.
Perdomo?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I could too eventually. Hopefully this injury is not too serious where he can't come back from. And if he needs surgery, then get him surgery. That's my thought, because if you're the regime and you're going, hey, this is kind of a down year. I know they're not going to come out and say we're tanking, but obviously their starting pitching tells you that they are. You would want him to recover quickly and get back to health, and maybe get some of your other guys in AAA up here to see what they're going to do, because that's the goal this year, right?
Yeah.
You're probably not going to be so good at the break, and you're probably going to want to call up these guys to fill out a roster. And take a look at them. So whoever's on your 40-man, you want to see these guys, make sure you get a good look at them for the future, evaluate what they can do against big league guys. And yeah, it would be a shame if Perdomo, because he's really got good sinking stuff that just produces ground balls, as we've all seen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we were to lose him this year, it would be really devastating, because out of all the guys, I think he's the best pitcher on the staff. Obviously, younger, talented, better fastball than most guys on the team. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, just get him the surgery, make sure that it's done correctly, you know?
Yeah, and then the thing about him also is he definitely is the one guy that you can see growing with this team. And you see when we talk about the possibility of making the playoffs, within the next 2 or 3 years, he's the one guy in that starting rotation that you see still being with the team. The rest of the guys aren't. They just aren't. We understand that. They're going to be moving on from those guys. They're going to be bringing other guys up. Another good thing about the Padres, and because of the Petco Park and everything, this is a place that vets who maybe need to reestablish their careers like to come. They come here on the 1-year contract. They have a really good year, and then somebody goes out there and overpays for them somewhere else. Mm-hmm. We can always fill in spots in our rotation if we are looking to win right now. And one thing I like what the Padres did this year is they signed guys going basically, you guys are just holding a place right now. You guys might have a good year, but we're not going to overpay for a 1-year pitcher. We're just not going to do it because we don't think we're going to win this year.
Oh, they were evident with that, yeah.
We can, though. If we need, if we only have 3 or 4 starters, we can pay a little bit more, and we can find guys. Guys want to come here to pitch,
definitely,
and to get their careers rejuvenated or whatever.
Right.
So I'm not as concerned with the pitching. Most teams, they think, we need to build around pitching. I think that we've tried that already. It failed here. Let's stop doing that. Let's put our effort into the position players, which it seems like they're doing. Let's grow these guys. Let's grow these position players, and we'll find pitching. And I
definitely down in the future when we get some time, and I know next week will be a big, heavy NFL draft-related show, which is fine because it's approaching quick. But I think we need to find time to really go through the system of the Padres, and I want to bring on a couple guests that I talk baseball with a lot, and it gets me excited that we actually have, and we talked about it earlier, prospects, like guys that are, when you say prospect, I'm talking like a top 30 list that rivals other teams. This is how the Cubs did it, the Astros did it, the Indians did it. Right. Look at all their teams they're at now. They stripped it all down, to the studs, and they rebuilt. And AJ Preller knows what he's doing. I really believe that. I think he's got a good mind, and I think he's got an eye for talent. And all these guys that he's acquired, I think eventually when you get guys waves from every level to come through your system, which we've never had here, Jay. Like, when's the last time we've ever talked about the AAA system, or like, hey, remember that guy in AA, like when he was coming through? And we've
talked about the minor league system, but we've never talked about once they get up here, they don't do nothing.
No, exactly. And I mean, we got Manny Margot from the Red Sox, and
he
it's
still came up through our system though. Still after, I know we didn't draft him, but
he still played AAA in El Paso, and he had a great year. And we kind of molded him what a Padre is going to be, like their new philosophy, and that's what every level of the Padres is now. Every level has a philosophy. Yeah. We're going to be aggressive on the base pass. We're gonna hit for average. We're going to do the little things, and that's what the Padres have to do because they're not a big market team, so they have to build within. And I dig that. I dig that about the new ownership group here with Seidler and Fowler and everything they put into the Dominican facilities down there. It's really cool to see because Padre fans have had nothing. We're like the modern day Cubs. We just haven't been around as long as they have.
Right.
We are, because we haven't had that. We mean, a couple World Series, but no wins there either. And for real Padre fans like you and me and a lot of people out there in San Diego that have nothing to grab onto, you get excited because we love baseball. Baseball is so fun when you're a good team. I could sit there and watch a 9-inning game all my time. That's my favorite thing to do when there's a good product on the field. So, but it's just exciting, and that's the overall conversation. It's just been nice to see 5-5 isn't much, but at least it's something to throw the wall at. It's good, dude. I like it.
And it's something to get excited. Win or loss, we have an exciting team to watch, and that's good.
Sure.
You mentioned the. I'm gonna end the show with the way I began the show. I know you were lifting boxes and stuff.
All day.
You mentioned the Padres ownership, and one thing I brought up at the beginning of the show, and I want to close with the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's something that nobody really talks about too much, and that's the fact that there's a baseball player on the Padres that about 20 years ago. His name's Matt LaChappa. He was warming up in the bullpen for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, and he had a heart attack.
Right.
He ended up with brain damage. He's in a wheelchair, and every single year the Padres re-sign him to a basic minor league contract so he gets his health insurance through the team. Something that they do not have to do. The Padres have gone through ownership changes and stuff. They do that every year.
And they don't announce it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's through tabloids that people have figured it out, but they don't sit there and go, hey, we do this. It's what they do.
Yep, exactly. And I think it's a really cool thing. And
Yeah.
you're right, they don't look for the publicity for it. They don't make a big deal about it. And, you think about it, when the ownership changed, they could have said, that wasn't us. We're not worried about that. And I know
Sure.
these guys have a lot of money, and I know it's not that much money to them, but a lot of people who have a lot of money, they nickel and dime everything. And
Sure.
it's just really, really
And
cool that they do
it's
that.
refreshing.
Every year. I think it's a really
and
cool thing.
I'd like to mention one other thing just before we get off, because there was an article about it probably a couple weeks ago that Peter Seidler, under the radar, has been trying to create a downtown huge multi-building facility for homeless to get this homeless population out of the streets and into buildings, and to model. I think that he was modeling it after another state that had just recently done it and really increased their lives and created jobs for them. And and it's near and dear to me because of certain situations. But I love this ownership group, man. They're really cool. They do a great job, and he's been behind the scenes donating his own money and time to figure this plan out, because he knows that San Diego has a really bad homeless problem. So if you can read into that, you can find it on the UT somewhere. There's a really great article in there done up. I forget the writer's name. I don't know if it's AC, but it's a great thing, and it speaks to what you were saying earlier. Just a ownership group that cares, and they really do care. Like, they care about this community, and like, they seen what we used to be at Qualcomm Stadium and what this fan base used to be. If they get the Padres back to where that was, even to the slightest, this city would be better for it. So it's cool to see.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot there, and I'm going to tell everybody out there, if you follow him at Justin_SDSJ, tomorrow sometime he's going to find that article and tweet it out. So
I will. I'll find it for you. Yeah, no, I'll find it for you.
Or maybe tonight even. You follow him on Twitter, and he'll find that article, and he'll tweet it out so you can.
Yes, sir. No, you don't have to put me on the spot. I'll do it right now once I get off the phone.
Justin, it's been great, man. I'm so happy that we're back on here. It was fun. It's actually fun to talk Padre baseball. We have something exciting to talk about. It's pretty neat. Last year was rough. This year is so far much better, and I look forward to you getting getting everything worked out so we can get back talking some.
And one thing I wanted to do was apologize to all you guys, and I don't want to apologize, but just sorry for not being on when we got back on, but in between spots right now, and I'll be good in a couple weeks here where I can have my own space, and I'll be good to go, and we'll be back to podcasting like we used to, and it'll be a lot of fun. So awesome. I love you guys, and it's good talking with you.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, I think we're gonna close this up, and we'll be back at it next week, man.
Yes, sir. Go Friars.
Right. Go Friars, man. Thanks, Justin.
All right, bro.
All right, man. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap things up for us this week. We talked a lot about the Chargers' defensive side of the draft. Justin finally got back in. I know he's been busy, and what am I to say? I've been super busy, too. We're just busy people. What are we going to do? But it has been nice to get back on there. I want to thank David Drogemeyer for joining us at the end in the chat room, and actually, if he's still listening, I'd love to have bring you in on on the phone or on the on Skype to talk Padres. I know you're a Padre fan as well as a Charger fan, and you spent so much time with us doing the pregame shows last year for the Chargers. And then the last thing, if you have any interest in talking Chargers, David, we're going to be doing our live draft show. If you'd like to get on and talk a little bit about that too. I know that you're still a little bit upset with the ownership, as am I. But we will be doing the live draft show on the 27th from Jake's house. Once again, thanks a lot for everybody for joining us. We'll be back talking regular draft stuff next week, and then look forward to doing the live draft show. We'll see you next week. You were simple once before, but it's not like that anymore. What is this downside that you speak of? What is this feeling you're so sure of?
Thank you for listening to the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans. Brought to you by Cali Comfort, home of the low and slow barbecue, and SK Digital Imaging with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, Jason Eidsmoe, and Mike Maciejewski. Subscribe to us on iHeartRadio, on Spreaker, and on iTunes. Visit SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com for all your Chargers, Padres, and Aztecs news.